1619, and the Negro in Virginia, by C. Braxton, Bryan. Coffee Break Collection 23, Mysteries, Riddles, and Conundrums. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. 1619, and the Negro in Virginia. A paper read before the Diocesan Council in Petersburg, Virginia, June 1904. It is generally stated that the first Negroes brought to Virginia were 20 in number, and that they were brought about the 1st of September, 1619, in a Dutch ship, which came to Jamestown, and sold them or traded them for provisions. But the records of the Virginia Company and the English state papers show conclusively that the 20 Negroes who actually arrived at that time were brought not by a Dutch ship, but by a famous English ship, the Treasurer, which belonged to Lord Rich, the Earl of Warwick, and others who were interested in the colony. The Treasurer had been cruising in the West Indies and had captured a Spanish ship and taken her cargo, these Negroes, among other things. It was an act not much, if any, short of piracy, as there was peace between England and Spain. It is true that a man of war of Flushing did come into Jamestown in consort with the Treasurer, and it was convenient to give it out that the Negroes had come in her, but it afterwards transpired that they certainly came in the Treasurer, and Lord Rich had trouble enough explaining the action of his ship. The captain of the ship, having the Negroes on his hands, left a part of them in the Bermudas, where Lord Rich had a plantation, and 20 were left at Jamestown. The captain was not looking for Negroes, and it was an accident that they were found in the captured Spanish ship, and so brought to Virginia. But neither were there any scruples about taking them, as Lord Rich had already received a charter from King James authorizing himself and about 40 other prominent Englishmen to engage in the Guinea and Binney trade on the coast of Africa. In this way the Negro began to be introduced, but very few at first. In February 1624 there were only 22 Negroes in Virginia. In a muster of the plantation in Elizabeth City County, the Corporation of Elizabeth City, as it was then called, in June 1625, there were but 3 Negroes in the population of 345. These were 2 of the original 20, named Antony and Isabel. Their child, born in Virginia, was named William, probably after the owner, Captain William Tucker, who was commander of the corporation. This child was baptized. The list of the living and dead in Virginia at this period shows that, apart from the massacre of 1622, about 25% of the population died year by year of sickness, while the interesting fact is also disclosed that not only were no Negroes killed by the Indians in the massacre, but only 1 Negro had died, although 3 more had been imported, making 22 Negroes in Virginia in February 1624. This afforded a strong motive for the introduction of more Negroes, which was gradually acted upon. Captain Tucker had also an Indian servant named William Cranshaw, after a distinguished clergyman in England who was a great friend of the colony. This Indian was also baptized. His Indian name had been Kupanki. Thus the first recorded baptisms of this parish are of an Indian and a Negro child. There were 3 ministers of the gospel in Elizabeth City about this time: Rev. George Keith, from 1617 until 1625, Rev. Jonas Stockton, 1621 to 1628, and Rev. Mr. Bolton, 1621 to 1623. Which of them had the privilege of baptizing this Indian and this negro child? Probably the first negro born in Virginia cannot now be told. One other negro child is recorded as being in James City in 1625. Negroes had been taken to the Bermudas by the English 3 years before they were brought to Virginia, i.e., in the summer of 1616. End of 1619 and the Negro in Virginia.